I was 29 when everything began to fall apart, though the cracks had started long before. Growing up, I was the youngest in my family. My brother Mason was 16 years older. By the time I was learning how to ride a bike, he was already in college, living an entirely different life. Despite the age gap, Mason adored me. He'd bring me souvenirs from his trips and even taught me how to play guitar when I was 7. I always admired him. To me, he wasn't just a big brother. He was almost a second father. When Mason got married, I was 10. I remember standing at the wedding, small and shy in my little suit, while everyone fussed over the bride. Mason and his wife had a baby 5 months later. My nephew, Eli. From the moment I saw him pink-faced and tiny, I was hooked. Over the years, I became Eli's favorite person. I babysat him, took him to the park, and taught him how to build things out of scraps from Mason's garage. We didn't feel like uncle and nephew, more like brothers. When I moved from Illinois to Florida for college, the distance was hard. But Eli and I kept in touch through calls and messages. No matter what, our bond stayed strong. By my last year of university, I met Kara, a fellow student who was everything I wasn't. Athletic, confident, outgoing. I was quiet, the kind of guy who spent Friday nights reading. But somehow, Kara noticed me. She approached me one day in the library, asking if I'd help her study for a class she was struggling in. I fell for her fast. Her energy, her humor, her warmth. She made my world brighter. We dated through graduation and eventually moved in together. She met my parents and Mason through video calls, but for some reason I hadn't introduced her to Eli yet. Kara often teased me about it. "Why haven't I met your favorite nephew yet?" she'd ask, half joking. "He's still a kid," I'd reply. "I don't want to mix my adult life with his yet." She'd laugh it off, but I could tell it bothered her. I thought I was protecting Eli's innocence. What I didn't realize was that my silence would one day lead to everything falling apart. 2 years later, when Eli finally met Kara for the first time, he said something that made my blood run cold. "I've seen you before." Eli was 13 when I finally brought Kara home for Thanksgiving. I hadn't seen him in nearly 2 years. He'd grown taller, leaner, but still had that same spark in his eyes. I'd spent weeks looking forward to that reunion, picturing laughter, catching up, and introducing him to the woman I loved. But nothing could have prepared me for what happened that day. The moment Eli saw Kara, he froze mid-step. His cheerful grin vanished, replaced by a strange look, confusion mixed with fear. I noticed immediately. "Hey, Eli," I said, smiling awkwardly. "This is Kara." For a few seconds he didn't move. Then in a shaky voice he said, "I've seen you before." Kara's smile faltered. She blinked rapidly, as if trying to hide her reaction, but the color drained from her face. I don't think so," she stammered. "You look familiar," Eli said again, frowning. "Mason, my brother, laughed it off. He probably saw you in a photo. Alex talks about you all the time." I chuckled nervously, agreeing. "Yeah, probably that." But deep down something felt wrong. The way Kara's hand tightened around mine, how she avoided eye contact with Eli. It all unsettled me. Later that evening, while everyone chatted around the dinner table, I caught Kara glancing at Eli repeatedly. Not with warmth or curiosity, but with panic. Like she was trying to place him somewhere she shouldn't have. When I asked her about it later that night, she brushed it off. "I just felt weird," she said. "Your nephew reminds me of someone I knew in high school. That's all." Her tone was casual, but her eyes betrayed her. There was fear there. The rest of the holiday went smoothly on the surface, but something invisible had shifted. Kara seemed restless. Eli avoided her completely. A week later, after we got back home, I got a text from Mason. "Eli's been quiet since Thanksgiving. He said he felt uncomfortable around Kara. Did something happen?" I stared at my screen, my heart racing. "No," I typed back. "Not that I know of." But even as I sent it, I wasn't sure I believed myself. Over the next few months, I tried to shake the feeling. I told myself I was overthinking. That Eli's words were just coincidence. Until the night I found Kara sitting in the dark, phone in hand, whispering to someone. And when she noticed me, she ended the call so fast her hand shook. The next morning I checked her phone, and what I found shattered every illusion I had about the woman I thought I knew. I don't know what woke me that morning. Maybe the silence. Kara usually hummed while getting ready, but that day, the apartment felt unnaturally still. I reached over to her side of the bed, cold. Her phone was on the nightstand, screen lighting up every few seconds. Normally, I'd never touch her things. But something inside me, the unease that had been growing since Thanksgiving, wouldn't let me ignore it this time. The messages were from an unsaved number. The preview on the lock screen read, "He almost recognized you. You have to be more careful." My heart dropped. I hesitated for only a second before unlocking it. I knew her passcode. The full conversation was worse than I could have imagined. Unknown, he's asking questions. Kara, I think Eli remembers me. Unknown, keep your story straight. Don't tell him anything. Kara, I won't. But what if he tells Alex? Unknown, he won't. He doesn't know who you really are. I scrolled higher, my hands trembling. The messages went back months. Most were short, coded, but one stood out. A photo Kara had sent of me and Eli from Thanksgiving dinner. The caption read, "He doesn't suspect anything." I felt like the air had been sucked out of the room. My stomach twisted. Who was this person? Why was Kara hiding this? I copied the number and ran it through a search app. My screen froze for a moment before revealing the name. E. Mason. My brother. For a long minute I couldn't move. Had to be a mistake. Mason. The same brother who'd practically raised me. Who always supported us. The next text came in as I stared at the screen. Mason, did he find out? I dropped the phone. Kara came out of the shower moments later, towel in hand, eyes widening when she saw me. "Alex," she said, voice trembling. "I can explain." "Then do it," I said, my voice shaking more than hers. She stared at me, silent. Her lips parted, but no words came out. Just tears. That silence told me everything. I packed a bag and left that morning without looking back. I drove for hours until I ended up at the only place I could think of, Mason's house. When he opened the door, his face went pale. "Alex," he stammered, "you shouldn't be here." And that's when I realized something even darker was hiding behind all of this. Because when I walked into his house, I found proof that Mason and Kara had been keeping a secret that went far beyond betrayal, something that could destroy our entire family. Mason's expression told me everything before he even spoke. He looked older somehow. Guilt had carved lines into his face I'd never noticed before. "Where is she?" he asked. My voice came out colder than I expected. He stepped aside slowly, letting me in. The house looked the same. Warm lighting, family photos, the faint smell of coffee. But something in the air was wrong. Felt heavy. "She's not here," he said quietly. "Then start talking," I snapped, tossing my phone on the counter. "You've been texting my wife. You've been lying to me. What's going on, Mason?" He looked down, rubbing his hands together. "It's complicated." "No," I said sharply. "It's betrayal. Just tell me the truth." Mason took a long breath before meeting my eyes. "Kara wasn't who you thought she was." I frowned. "What does that even mean?" "She met Eli long before she met you," he continued. "She was working at one of the tutoring programs I enrolled him in years ago. He was 12 then. She used a different name. When I found out, I told her to stay away." Froze. "You knew her?" He nodded slowly. "Yes, but it's not what you think. I thought she'd left after I confronted her. I didn't know she came back." The words felt like static in my head. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because I thought it was over," Mason said. "I didn't realize she'd been manipulating both of us." "Manipulating?" He nodded again, his voice cracking. "She wasn't just with you for love, Alex. She was after something else. Something from our family." He turned to his desk, opening a drawer and pulling out a manila folder. Inside were printed documents, bank transfers, receipts, names I didn't recognize. She was being paid by someone, he said. To keep tabs on you. To get close. I felt my knees weaken. Paid by who? Mason hesitated, then handed me a page. It was a transaction list with a name highlighted. Elena Reese. I didn't recognize it, but under it was a note written in Mason's handwriting. Related to Eli's mother. My blood ran cold. Eli's mother had died when he was young. Mason never talked about her, only saying it was too painful. What does this mean? I demanded. Before Mason could answer, his phone buzzed. He looked at the screen, his face drained of color. It's her, he whispered. And when he answered, a woman's distorted voice came through the speaker, one that wasn't Kara's, saying, "If you're both in the same room, it's already too late." Mason's hand trembled as he pressed the phone to his ear. The distorted female voice on the other end was eerily calm, deliberate, every word landing like a blow. "If you're both in the same room," she said, "it's already too late." Then the line went dead. The silence that followed was suffocating. I could hear my own heartbeat, the faint ticking of a clock, the hum of the refrigerator in the background. Mason stared at the phone like it had just burned him. "That wasn't Kara," he said finally, his voice thin. "Who was it then?" Asked, my throat dry. He swallowed, looking sick. "Elena." Froze. "That's not possible. You said Elena was gone, Mason. You said she died." He nodded slowly. "She was supposed to." My skin prickled. The words didn't make sense, but the look on his face told me there was more. Mason walked to his study, unlocked a drawer, and pulled out a small black box. Inside were old photographs, letters, and a USB drive. His fingers shook as he plugged it into his computer. "Before she disappeared," he whispered, "Elena sent me this. I never opened it. I was afraid of what I'd find." The screen flickered to life. A shaky video recording. The image was grainy, lit only by the dashboard lights of a car. Elena appeared, eyes red, face pale. "If you're watching this," she began, "then they found me. Mason, you have to protect Eli. Keep him away from her. She's not who she says she is. She's dangerous." Her voice broke as she continued. "Her name isn't Kara. It's Carly Reese. My sister. She's been following me for years, pretending to help. Don't trust her, she wants everything. The money, the house, even Eli." Elena looked off screen, startled by something, then turned back to the camera. "I thought I could stop her, but she's smarter than I realized. Don't let her near our son." The video cut off abruptly, replaced by a silent black screen. I sat there frozen, my mind spinning. Kara, or Carly, had lied about everything. She hadn't just entered my life by chance. She'd been sent, or worse, had chosen me to get closer to my family's money and to Mason's son. Mason sank into his chair, his face buried in his hands. "I didn't believe her," he murmured. "I thought Elena was paranoid after everything she'd been through. I thought she was gone for good. I didn't say anything. Couldn't. The truth had settled like ice in my veins. Everything I'd built, my marriage, my trust, my peace, had been part of someone else's plan all along. The only sound left in the room was the faint hum of the computer fan and the echo of Elena's final words, looping in my head. Keep him away from her.